Hi, this is Jeff Carpenter.
And I'm David Gilardi.
We are back with more talk about KillrVideo, and this time we want to talk about hackathons and what makes a great hackathon. Now, this is kind of a trendy thing where a lot of companies are doing hackathons right now. It might be just something that's open to employees internally, or you might invite outside guests in to a hackathon. But we have had the privilege of being participants in hackathons, hackers, if you will, as well as organizers of hackathons. So having seen things from both sides of the fence, so to speak, we had some thoughts that we want to share with you about what goes well and what doesn't go well. So first of all, let's talk kind of the blocking and tackling stuff, organization and logistics. David, what are the things that we need to be thinking about in planning a hackathon?
Well, one of the first things, and one of the first things we had to deal with here with our recent KillrVideo one, was the publicity standpoint, right? Making sure we're getting out to not only the developers, anyone who might be involved. They know what the hackathon is about, if there's any particular information they need. Are there facilities that you need to worry about?
Yeah.
You know, are you going to be in a big hall? Or are you going to have a bunch of different rooms? You know, and the one key thing too is we had to encourage a lot of our teams, encourage people to kind of form teams and stuff beforehand as well. We wanted to get all that going, so by the time we actually went to the hackathon and we did it, we kind of had all that stuff really in place.
Yeah, because that's right. You have a limited time, so you don't want to waste time on team formation and organization.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, to add to that, in our particular case, dealing with KillrVideo, right? If people were going to hack at all against our code base, they had to, download not only the code base, they had to get Docker and some internal things working there in the laptop. So we went ahead of time. We talked to teams. We tried to kind of offer, say, any kind of IT support or anything they needed to get them going, because we only had a day. And we didn't want to be spending 2-3 hours right there in the morning just trying to get people to, get the code downloaded and everything. So that was actually part of that outreach.
Right.
And then, I guess along those lines, I guess I'll ask you, Jeff, what kind of instructions or anything, do you give beforehand? Was there any particular material there?
Yeah, I think it's important to think about what your objectives are for your hackathon. What are you trying to get out of it? Are you trying to get innovation that's focused on a particular area? Are you looking for new technology ideas? Are you looking for product feature brainstorming? Or maybe you have some organizational goals, just as a morale boosting event or promoting cross-team interaction. For us, it was a bunch of those things. It was, everything that I just mentioned, plus with a focus, like you've hinted at already, on the KillrVideo. So our reference application that we're building to demonstrate features of our product line, DataStax Enterprise, Studio, Ops Center, et cetera, just the whole product line that we're trying to be able to demonstrate with KillrVideo, we're looking for ideas. So from our engineering team, which is a world-class engineering team, the people who are designing and building these great features, on top of the base Apache Cassandra technology, we want to get ideas they have about how to use the features that they're building, because they have a lot of great inspiration about that. So that was a major objective of ours. And we were pretty honest with them about, that's a goal, that we want to get new ideas for this reference app. So like I mentioned, if we want to have that focus and point the teams in a direction, how do we do that? Or how do you give that direction to teams without constraining them and tying their hands?
Yeah. So I guess maybe a philosophy we tried to use was guardrails, not handcuffs, right? So we knew that we had constraints. We had things that we needed to, we wanted folks to focus on, maybe some topics or some suggestions. But at the same time, we don't want to constrain folks so much that they just kind of lose their creative ability to do something that either interests them or, to kind of let the whole process be organic, right? So what we did was, we set up some topics, we set up some suggestions, we said, here are some things that you could do, right? But honestly, you can kind of pick whatever. Now, there's still some constraints there, even if they pick whatever. In order for the hackathon in our particular case to actually be successful, because it was a KillrVideo hackathon, right? We did have to have some constraints like, it needs to be in the KillrVideo universe. right? If you go off and you hack something that has nothing to do with KillrVideo whatsoever and is totally outside of it, that's not really the point. So that's
an
kind of
IoT demo app was probably not going to
it'd be
play
great,
very
you know,
well,
but
it'd be useful to us,
right? But that's where the guardrails, not handcuffs. So again, giving enough constraints of people have focus, they have suggestions. One of the things we saw when we had created some of the original like survey forms and stuff to get people going and everything was that, you know, people were asking like, wow, man, what topic should I pick? And so it was good to have some suggested topics for them, even though they may have gone in a different direction. It was just giving them a starting point. So that was
some teams you got to get out of their way and just let them go, and then other teams are coming to you. Well, what should we work on? What should we code? And then you know have to have a couple ideas to give them, so they're just not dead in the water. Right.
So enough constraints to get them going and kind of keep them on in the area that you want them to work, but not so many that they can't be creative and organic and stuff, and how everything kind of flows on its own.
Okay, very good. So I think maybe what we want to do at this point is actually show you some highlights from some of the demos that we did. One of the first teams that I'd like to show you here is the team we called KillrVideo Geo. So one of the things that this team did was great. This is actually a team that works, a lot of the members have experience with DataStax Studio, which is our relatively new developer application. And as you can see here, they added map visualization to Studio in a day.
Yeah.
So they enriched some of our test data that you can see here, and then did a map UI plugin, and then we're able to visualize the user locations. So, you know, there are different users who have accounts within the KillrVideo system, and we're able to see where they're located and visualize where our users are on the map. Now, look, this is like a safe harbor statement here where we're not guaranteeing that map visualization is going to be available in Studio at any particular time frame, but just to show that it was a fairly easy, you know, thing for them to demonstrate in terms of, you know, getting that into the application and then demonstrating it within a day.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if we move on to the next one here, Jeff, we've got our team Sad Tigers, right? And let's see when the video comes up here. There we go. Yeah, so this is Team Sad Tigers. Now, this is really interesting because what they did is they ended up working a recommendation engine using Spark. Now, this really starts to lend in this organic thing we were talking about before, because we gave folks ideas, but we didn't say recommendation engine, and we actually had two teams, funny enough, that came up with a way to do recommendation engines on their own. And in this particular case, they use an analytics approach, right, with Spark. Now, we're going to talk about the other one here in a moment, where they use an online approach, right, with Graph. But we didn't plan that. We did not tell people to do this. And it was actually something that was in our internal KillrVideo roadmap that we wanted to tackle. So it actually worked out really kind of beautiful.
Yeah, and the fact that two teams came up with that idea, that was something that was actually part of our intent to implement. Yeah. We just felt like we got this wealth of content and potential ideas on how to do this. So let's go right to that next team
let's do it.
So this is the output that we got from, what was that, Team Rock Solid. And I want you to hear this.
You just saw what would be like a batch offline analytics overnight, all the users' recommendations.
Oh, jobs, here's the setup.
Right? So, you know, if you have that kind of time, you can put that time there. And you don't have any new users that want personalized recommendations, you know, cold start scenario and yada, yada, yada. And things don't change over the course of a day, even though we work for a company that operates in the power of now.
Right. So, okay. So that's a little audio from our friend Bob.
Yeah.
Bob Brody. And he is actually kind of trash talking the other recommendation engine team there. He's talking about how there's, you know, if offline analytics with running Spark jobs is good enough for you, and you're not going to operate in the power of now, which is kind of our DataStax slogan, marketing slogan. If you're not going to embody that, maybe that's good enough for you with the Spark analytics.
Right.
But we did the online recommendation engine. And there's this kind of this fun interplay and give and take between the teams. So yeah, like, tell me a little bit about this particular recommendation engine implementation.
Yeah, so this one compared to the Spark analytics approach, right? This one used Graph, right? And it is online. So you know, this one would be more real time. Now, what's really interesting is that at the end, once we looked at what both teams had done, it actually came to us that both of their recommendation implementations were actually parts of the whole, that both of them were valid within not only doing something in the online standpoint, but there was some information that you can't gain online, that you need the analytics data that you're actually, you know, kind of computing and stuff over the course of the day or longer to actually get at. So both of these particular cases are something that, you know, as a matter of fact, is going to end up being really quite useful for us. So it worked out. So one totally took the online standpoint, and the other one took the analytics standpoint.
So, you know, like all joking aside and us sort of pitting them against each other,
Yeah.
Realistically, they were actually producing complementary solutions.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it probably wasn't an accident. I mean, maybe we take credit for it, maybe we don't, about sort of creating that friendly rivalry kind of atmosphere. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit more about that, how we did that.
Well, yeah. So we wanted to make sure, I mean, obviously, you know, with the hackathon, the end goal is you actually want to get work done. You want to do things and have some outcome and everything.
Yeah.
But you also want to have fun. I mean, that was part of it. So what we did is, one of the things is, as the teams had formed and they actually started like punching out code and everything like that, we just quietly started showing up with like walking up to tables and doing stuff like this. Let's see. Can you guys see this okay?
Too much talking,
Not
enough coding.
That's right. And yeah, this one was my favorite, actually. We got some nice laughs out of that. Yeah, the only sound I should hear, right, is your mad typing on the keyboard. So we just went around and we just, obviously we're just having fun with it. And we just started throwing this on the tables and kind of purposely trying to loosen up the atmosphere and kind of, you know, maybe break some of the ice if there any. Honestly, I don't think we had that much ice breaking to do, but our teams are pretty,
right.
They work well together. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so that was one of the things that we had done that. So then, you know, I guess that kind of ties into something I get more on a more serious note, like, then how do you go about, like, what do we do as far as judging the results? Like, how do we kind of bring this all together?
Right. I've seen sort of varying degrees of seriousness or realness in terms of, you know, do you have monetary prizes and recognition that's broadcast throughout the company and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. We ended up having some sort of nominal gift card
like $25
type of prizes. And one of the things that we felt were important in terms of our feedback to the teams was giving everybody recognition, because there were genuinely unique and good things that were contributed by each of the teams. Yeah. And so we wanted to recognize that. If you think about it, you're going to go participate in a hackathon. You're kind of putting yourself on the line. Your credibility is, you know, a little bit at risk here because you got to produce the goods in a day, you know, produce something useful that you can then demonstrate. And it better work because it would be embarrassing to fail in front of the other teams. And so, you know, we wanted to recognize these people that are really helping us out, first of all, and helping us to do our jobs better. And, you know, we're also helping them by promoting the work that they're doing, obviously. Right. But they've put themselves out there, and we want to recognize that. So that, you know, that was really important to us to do that.
Yeah, and one thing, and to add on something that Jeff was just saying as well, as far as the content and what they actually produced, one of the things we actually did state was, listen, we're not looking for you to have unit tests. We're not looking for code to be absolutely production ready or something. You'd never get it done within the time frames, right, that we had. So it was important to us. We wanted to have useful things, something that's functional, hopefully, that you can take and do something with. But we didn't go so stringent, right? And then one of the biggest things to make sure that everyone's doing this work, right? They spent all this day putting this stuff together. You need to have some way to capture the results. Right, so we had Git repos, we had documents, we had stuff like that we said, okay, here, once you guys are done, you guys have code, we want you to put it up here. We want you to put the information in, you know, this document and that kind of deal. Simple, just real simple stuff, easy stuff.
Right.
So they could,
that's easy to forget in the aftermath of an event like that.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So something to make sure that we record that, because, you know, in other videos, if you've been watching, you know, some of our other KillrVideo talks, you know, some of the graph stuff we're talking about, it's actually, we are taking the stuff that came from the hackathon, the output of that, and we're actually going to turn that into real workable, usable stuff in KillrVideo.
Perfect. So just to summarize, our key takeaways for having a successful hackathon is plan a lot, communicate a lot, be really flexible when your plans blow up, because they will. And then, you know, promote camaraderie amongst your teams, recognize them, thank them for their work, and capture the results. Don't let that code escape. So really, that's it for this time. Thanks again.
Thank you.